Hello.
Hi, kid. What's new in Dorothy World?
Pretty quiet. Too much.
Not too much.
Very quiet day.
Dorothy, it's you.
It is me. It is.
Did France finally do Czechoslovakia?
They did.
Yeah.
They were ahead pretty much the whole game.
France is a good team. They fought the United States the day.
Yeah, they did. And they walked Czechoslovakia, and they probably walked some others we didn't get to see.
That's a big hump.
Big hump?
That's a big hump.
Well, there's nobody checking in with me at this point, so good to go.
Hello, my divine friends, and welcome to another Wednesday night live stream. Of course, always about the magic, the mystery of the star tetrahedron, the Christ star, and how it's playing such an important role right now on the planet as we go through a great transformation. Tonight, I wanted to talk about the soul seeking its reflection. So the soul of each one of us is moving down through time, space, and creating multiple lives. And within each one of those lives, it's gathering information through the contrast of what is good, what is bad, what it likes, what it dislikes. And it takes all that information and then synthesizes it into a library that is the composite of the greater, higher mind you are. The purpose, of course, all those lifetimes is to finally come to the spiritual illumination where you fully realize that I am the divine mind, I am mine, that has been creating physical form, a body, in order to experience three-dimensional reality. And through the Christing mechanism, we can then begin to create more light, more essence of light within the body, and we begin to transition into more of a, if you call it, fifth dimensional place of consciousness. It's not leaving the body, it's being able to live more of the Christed state in and through the body, which of course the goal of evolution. And it's very important for this to happen because we're at a point of crisis on the planet where the old paradigm that was based upon the soul looking through and for contrast through pain and suffering, it was all part of the plan. But now we've moved to the reset and we've reached the culmination of that experience. And now those who move forward into the new paradigm, which really began, as we talked about, December 21st of this last year, we now are moving into a time of living love and joy and peace and prosperity as an emanation from inside out of this great field of energy that we are. And so a critical mass, you see a critical point is taking place. So I wanted to show you this image to help you understand a little bit more about how the soul is creating its reflections within form. Going forward, going forward, going forward. So this is called a plasma sphere, and you can see that it's a glass sphere. And in the very center down here, there's a radiant ball. Well, envision this radiant ball as your soul. And the glass sphere is filled with the essence of mind, divine mind. It's the soup, if you will, that we are living within. So you can imagine this great ball of living energy all around you. And if you see where the hand is, because the hand is touching the ball, it's drawing all of this electrical currents to it. And so it's the soul recognizing that this is a particular incarnation that is wanting, that is summoning the light of the soul to it. Otherwise, the soul simply creates multiple emanations that are somewhat small threads of this energy. And we create then many, many lifetimes filling up this sphere. But there comes in the really purposeful lifetime when we realize it's now time to awaken. I've gathered my information, my understanding about who I am, about power, not as mind thinking, but as really the focusing and intention of the divine mind. I hold it so clearly on imagination and love, I'm now moving towards creatorship. I am aware of the fullness of the mind I am, that the soul is now using that mind to create the form. But as I summon more of the soul, I then gather all that is within this bubble as awareness to me. Now, equally important, if you can imagine this being the soul, but you can see that there's something that gives life to the soul. And what is that? That is Source. That is the divine and great being that is the creator of all that is. And it is through the open doorway within our heart, when we create a vortex by bringing divine power and divine love together, it then creates this movement of light and consciousness within the area of the heart chakra, which then opens the doorway. And the doorway then goes back to the energetic essence that is even fueling the soul. And so no longer, you see, in the star tetrahedron, simply drawing from the soul, we are then opening the doorway that begins to draw directly from Source. And so it begins to purpose our life very, very rapidly. So this is really a beautiful image, you see, of how the soul has been creating its reflections within form. Now you can also imagine, this is another image. Again, here is the radiant light in the middle, and here is then this field of divine mind energy. And of course, here is the electrical currents, the light of divine mind that is then literally reaching down to ignite a personality into form. And then within it, the radiant blue, which again is the divine mind, that the soul, through the personality, appropriates to then create the reality that the soul is choosing in order to gather its reflections within form. Now, most of the reflections up until now, and even for the majority of people, the soul is simply reflecting upon the ego mind. And the ego mind is looking at, what do I want? What do I need? Is it money? Is it power? Is it glamour? Is it recognition? And so the soul has no really reflection of that which it is. It's gathering information, contrast, about what doesn't really bring it joy. Because it's only through the joy of the soul that it really begins to move more into its spiritual awakening. And so if the contrast and the reflection of the world is too fat, too small, too big, too little, not enough prosperity, sadness, or grief, the soul simply sits and waits, gathering information that that's not the feeling that I'm really wanting, knowing that it doesn't want to then maybe create that in the next lifetime or even in the future of the now. If the ego begins to cooperate and moves on its path of awakening to really find out it is a soul. And so the reflections that for most people in the world is simply then over and over the ignorance, the purposing once again of the fear, the worry, the COVID, all the things that are going on, that the soul is saying, that's not it. That's not it. But in order to wake people up, those reflections that are now being created in mass is creating such a tension within the whole earth consciousness But now people are getting reflections much more rapidly, much bigger, more dynamic of the things that cause pain and suffering. And so we see it as COVID, we see it as Capitol riots, we see it as the shootings taking place. And if we judge and, of course, criticize and dislike that, we're simply then once again lost in the ego of the mind that's a judgmental form, rather than the soul that simply looks at that and says, no, I will simply now create reflections that I choose. And the reflections that the soul is looking for is your imagination. Because when we open the sacred doorway into the void, all possibilities exist within the void. It is the mind of God that is unmanifest. And through the Christ field, the star tetrahedron, mind can then look through the open doorway. It can imagine within the void that which it would choose. And as imagination is held upon that which is within the void, whatever you imagine, it creates a reflection off of it. It touches the facets of the spinning star tetrahedron. And through these multiple facets of light emanation, reflecting that which is within the imagination, the void, it literally then spins it out into holographic etheric reality. And there is then a substance within creation that we call the eoma, and it precipitates minute particles all around that holographic image that makes it then real and three-dimensional within form. So you can imagine the eoma. If someone has a cigarette, and the cigarette has heat coming off the tip of it, well, the smoke is generally unseen. But when the smoke gathers around the heat of the cigarette, it swirls and moves upwards with that heat. And so that is again symbolic of the eoma. It is everywhere present throughout all creation, this minute superfine particle, but it's the symbolic heat of your holographic form, the holographic image that you hold, that the eoma begins to precipitate these superfine particles around it, and over time it literally becomes manifest and real. And so an individual like Jesus who had mastered the Christ field could simply hold the reflection, the image of loaves and fish, and with such clarity of focus and imagination, holographically it began to literally move out all around him. The eoma immediately precipitated into form, and loaf and fish appeared. It's not really so much magic. It's really creation. It's how Source has created the universe. The whole universe is nothing more than the Christ field, illuminating within the mind of God all that God would be. Universe, galaxy, sun, moon, stars, all that is there. As the Christ field illuminates it, it then creates the holographic reflection out, and the eoma then precipitates it into form. And then we have three-dimensional reality. It's really light, but it's a holographic light that then has the appearance of form. And when we are then able to take our consciousness to this fifth dimensional place of consciousness, which was where we are moving to, we are looking through the eoma, almost as though it is I guess you might say, a clear plastic coating body that someone is wearing, that everything is wearing. And when we look inside, we see the true holographic image of the true being they are. We don't then judge or criticize that which is the outer layer. We see what is inside of all creation, God, Source, light. And from that place, you see, one can then so be in love with life that we are then given the right and the ability to then choose and create what we would want, because we will do it with grace and with love. That's why when we begin to systematize the star tetrahedron and we begin to open the doorway opens into the interior part of the heart, which is love, because we've now found sacred love. We're no longer judging or criticizing or disliking. We're now moving into sacred love, which that is what opens this doorway, because now we can begin to be trusted with all the powers of creation, because we will use it in a way that is loving, that is generous, that is compassionate and sharing. And why? Because we're no longer needing or wanting. We become creator beings. And so money and power and glamour and the things that the ignorance of the world is so wanting, they no longer have an allure for us. We could create money with effortless ease. We could create loaves and fish. We could create prosperity and food galore. But being more fifth dimensional beings, our joy is in the feelings of now becoming creators in a much higher form and realm. Being into purpose with Earth and the divine that is within Mother Earth, a whole new life experience. The evolution of a life and a life wave with and through Mother Earth that is so glorious and magnificent, we call it heaven on earth. And many, many stars throughout the universe have found galaxies and planets that have then been able to bring this knowledge to their awareness. And many of these ascended beings, sometimes we call them star people, the Galactic Federation, they move through the universe and they look for planets that are ready to move to this next level of awakening. And they're there to assist. They never interfere, but they're always there with information, with awareness, with ideas, with help. And so there are a lot of different people now out there who are bringing forth this information. Some of us bring it through in our intuitive state during our meditation. Some actually being conscious of it as it comes through. But there's simply that which is source moving through many different beings, seeking to once again bring more life and love to the planet. And as we call upon that, and we're open to receive that because our hearts are open, we can then begin to transform the earth quite beautifully. It's going to take all of us. It's a very critical thing that's happening now. I often feel like I'm Noah, and I'm running around and say, it's really raining hard now. And I hear people go, yeah, but it might stop. It might stop. And I always hold out that great hope. But at the same time, I'm always preparing my consciousness to move into this next form of light activation on the planet. And like Noah, I nothing but enjoy people coming along on that boat ride, because it will be glorious. So that's the beauty of the star tetrahedron and the work that we do together. The soul seeking its reflection in the Christ, not a person, but a field of creative mechanism of manifestation, calling from the void life anew. And then we let it rain for the fun of it, because we know it will simply water our crops rather than flood our homes. So that's my spiel for today. You might see I'm wearing this very nice shirt today. It's one of the silk shirts I've had for a very long time. And because it's my not birthday, I thought I would dress up. My not birthday. So one of the most dynamic ways that we summon Source from the interior doorway is through the breath. I want to reiterate over and over again, it's through the breath. Breath is spirit. And as we open the doorway and we literally know and feel that we're summoning breath, spirit from inside out, we've now opened the doorway to the void, where the infinite breath of spirit resides. And as we're then breathing in the Soham breath, it's the So. Very deep, slow, purposeful breath. And we're actually watching and beginning to feel these little tendrils of living light beginning to emanate up and out. And as we then simply hold for a couple of counts and then let go, the hum, we imagine and feel sparkling, effervescent, dancing sunlight. It's moving through the body. It's re-architecting every cell and tissue. the body is relaxing and it's opening. And then the next breath, there's even more openness, more ability to breathe completely through the body. Because we're finding more and more as we do our breath and our meditation that we begin to realize I'm not the body. It's not that the body is disappearing. It's no longer then being held so purposefully in our consciousness. And in that, we begin to realize I am the mind, divine mind that has created the form, holding it in a molecular construct for the joy of that which I am creating within an amazing three-dimensional world. So let's do the Soham breath for about 5 minutes. And once again, a deep, slow, purposeful breath. Spine nice and straight. The spinal column, again, is that which is the very center of the star tetrahedron, the great torus field of mind up and all around you. So let's go ahead and do about 5 minutes of the deep, deep Soham breath and see if you can imagine, again, imagination, imagine and feel. As you're breathing in from the open doorway, there's this substance. You begin to see this glittering, effervescent light emanating up and out. I will do the breath with eyes open, as I often do throughout the day. So your choice, eyes open, eyes closed, imagination, breath. And as you are breathing, you can let your consciousness drift to around the body within the field of the divine mind that is summoning the breath. And then very easily, I am the mind breathing the body. And the mind that is breathing the body is this field of energy that exists all around you. This mind can breathe through the back of you. You can breathe out through the front of you, to the side of you, up, below. Breath is life and breath is spirit. We think of it often just as oxygen, but breath is the spirit of life. And more importantly, as we then are learning to breathe it from the open doorway, we then give life to that which we imagine with the star tetrahedron. The focusing of the mind, the image, the imagination, illuminates within the void that which we choose to create. It arises forth, and then the breath of life, spirit, the in-breath, then creates it to be so. So it is the light, the love, the breath. So we're going to go through then the formulation of the star tetrahedron in our meditation. Upper triangulation of divine mind. Now, up to now, we've often said is turning left to right, which is one way true, clockwise. But in fact, the star tetrahedron moves around, up and out, in and out. It becomes literally a living ball of just like a diamond-like radiance, turning in all ways. But to give the imagination something to begin with, we see the upper triangulation is turning one way, and the lower triangulation turning another way, divine love. And whatever feels comfortable for you. Of course, I've now moved to the place where I see the upper triangulation moving left to right, lower triangulation right to left. But then the star tetrahedron turns this way, and it's now turning here and here, then this way, and then it turns that way, then it turns that way. It just begins to be a tumbling, just ball of living light. And this is where the being Jesus, who mastered the star tetrahedron, literally held the hand and the light emanated. It was the living light of the Christ effervescent arising forth. So this is the star tetrahedron. And of course, the beauty of it is then it opens the sacred doorway into the heart, back into the realms of void source spirit, where we illuminate creation. It's unmanifest. What we see has already been manifest. We are now moving to another level of creation, where we then find the unmanifest within the mind of God. We illuminate it. It arises forth and touches the facets of the star. The breath gives it life, and voila, creation. So I'll take you through the full formulation of the star tetrahedron, and then we'll meditate for maybe 35 minutes. We always want the spine nice and erect, and with each breath, we are breathing source from inside out through the open doorway. So let's go ahead and close the eyes and feel the body relaxing. Feel up, back, all around you, the field of mind, divine mind. That you can focus by bringing attention between the eyebrows. Imagine you could draw a line straight back, and within the approximate center point of the head, we ignite the light of the soul. Imagination is always the key. It makes it real. Imagining light within the head now increasing, filling the mind and the brain with the light of the soul, divine mind. We focus the light to the heart chakra at the sternum and illuminate in our imagination the star tetrahedron, whatever size you choose. Upper triangulation, divine power. You may see it turning left to right, clockwise. And the lower triangulation of divine love turning right to left, counterclockwise. It opens the sacred doorway within the center of the chest, the heart chakra. And arising forth as a living spring with the breath, the light of source, touching the facets of the star tetrahedron and spinning out living light within, through, and all around us. With slow, deep, purposeful breath, we are summoning spirit from the open doorway. To be the Christ radiance we emanate into the world. This is our gift. Let's sit quietly together, and I will gather us all into the living light. Quite wonderful, my friends. Thank you very much. And of course, once again, the soul is looking for its reflection in your imagination. This is the time where the soul knows its purpose, and its purpose is the Christing, the bringing of the living light for the transformation of the planet. And all of that exists already within the void. And as you do the star tetrahedron and breathe and open the doorway, and as you then imagine within the open doorway, what are your choices of creation? What is your joy? This is what really brings purpose to the soul, is joy. It moves away from pain and suffering and allows the ego to go through those, if you will, moments. But then it's always there waiting, coming through with new life, new breath. And as we are then bringing forth the breath of spirit and then imagining, and with the star tetrahedron, we're watching and feeling around us. It's the divine mind, the great being you are, that is breathing the body. There's space within the tissues, within the molecules, and it's a breathing, just like a bellows, breathing, but it's always breathing in source, breathing in source. And as you actually imagine and feel source from the open doorway, these tendrils of sparkling, lipping, effervescent, sparkly glitter coming up and out, it's so. You make it so by your imagination. This is the reflections that the soul is looking for now. And so you have all the tools and the keys to your own enlightenment. It's the mind being held focused and silent. Love. I love what is within the void, that which I am, that is glorious and true and beautiful and alive and vibrant and sharing and giving. And I illuminate that. And as I then create a reflection off of it and give it breath, spirit life, I make it so within my body. And thus prosperity and happiness and joy then is gently attracted to you. It's no longer a world of doing, it's a world of being. So, very beautiful meditation. I want to thank you so very much for joining in tonight. And we'll be back, of course, in 2 weeks. I sent out to many of you a video that Ed Ferrero sent me about a woman, Kathy Thebo, who channels some star beings. Quite great information. If you would like that link, all you have to do is let me know. And much love and light, my dear friends, and we'll see you very soon. Namaste. Namaste.